Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. I have finally gotten moved, so you won't have to hear about that from me anymore. And I've gotten my bookshelf set up again, and that means I am ready to film again. I have a background once more. And I also managed to do this just in time for my March TBR, because March is starting in just a few days. It's currently the 24th, I think, or 25th of February, and it feels like it's just gone by so quickly, probably because of all the moving activities. But now that I am settled, I am looking forward to March. February has actually remarkably been a pretty good reading month for me, and I'm hoping now that things are settling out a little bit, I'll be able to carry that momentum into March. March also has one of my favorite readathons happening. This is one I participated in the last 2 years and had a ton of fun with, which is Roll of Reads, which is hosted by book fiend Mel. This was inspired by her old TBR game, Roll of Reads, and it's originally inspired by D&D, so it's a concept where you're rolling a d20 to get a prompt. It's really fun. I loved it the last 2 years, and I'm looking forward to participating again this year. Before we talk about that, though, I do want to briefly mention a couple of things that I'm carrying over from February into March. The first of which is that I will hopefully finally be finishing my first episode of Shelf Control. This video has been in the works since early January. My partner Jacob picked some books for me to read for that, and I'm currently halfway through the first one, but then all of the excitement with applying for the apartment and then getting moved into it has just derailed that video. I wasn't able to finish anything to have that posted in either January or February, so I'm hopeful that March will finally be the month that happens. The next thing I'm carrying over is I am currently reading Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. This is a reread, and I may actually finish this yet in February because I have a few days left, and I've started this today. It's a reread. It should go fairly quickly, but I did want to mention it here in case it doesn't get done in that time. I may be carrying it over. This is the current pick for my Works book club, so we're reading this, and I wanted to just refresh my memory on it before we had our conversation. But that's in kind of mid-March, so I have a little bit of time to finish it if I don't get to it at the end of this month. The last thing I'm going to be carrying over, I think I mentioned in last month's TBR, which is that my friend and I are going to be buddy reading The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. For both of us, I think this is kind of a first foray into his work, and both of us are pretty avid fantasy readers, so we feel pretty comfortable going in with an epic fantasy series. So we're excited about this. She's, I think, bounced off one of his books before, but it was one of his earlier works, and one that was, I think, a standalone. I think it was Elantris, maybe. So we're looking forward to this. I think she's interested to give his work another try, and I haven't read anything from him, so I'm curious to see how I feel about his writing style, and I'm excited to dive in. It's a really big book, but I think it's going to be really fun to get immersed in it and have a chance to kind of talk through it with her as we're reading it. So those are all the carryovers, and now we can talk about Roll of Reads. So I was a little bit concerned I was not going to get to participate in this year because I don't actually have the ability to print at the moment, and Mel has made some really cool cards for the readathon with the basic set of prompts that you have to use for the readathon. Especially this year, she's made a few changes, but there are some specific permanent prompts that stay on the board all the time. So that was one thing, and then there's also rewards and punishment cards that you have to print as well. Well, you don't have to print them, but you have to use her prompts, basically. And I don't currently have access to a printer, so I did manage to dig out a notebook and pull out some pages, and I made my own cards out of graph paper and some Tombow markers that I was also able to unearth out of my boxes. So good news, I was able to make some cards. And then I also didn't bring any dice, and you need a d20 for this. So I found a dice rolling app from Google and used that. So that's how we worked around it, and I'm pretty excited about it this year. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I did decide to start with 4 rolls for the month because I felt like that was reasonable given that I knew I was carrying over a few things, and it gives me a little bit of room to kind of fit those things in, possibly mood read a little bit around it. I typically read somewhere between 6 and 8 books in a month on average, so I felt like 4 was a reasonable place to start. So with all that said, let's go see what the dice gave me, and then we'll come back and talk about what I'm going to be reading for those prompts. Alright, so I have my board here. I did make it out of dot grid paper. It's fine, don't worry about it. And we're gonna go ahead and roll for our first book. So book 1 of 4. I can't believe I rolled a 20 right off the bat. Oh my god. Okay, so 20 is one of the permanent cards. This one is a mood read. I can pick whatever I want for that. That's wild that I got that right off the bat, but we also get a reward card. So this one is re-roll a 1. So I'll hold on to this one in case we re-roll, or in case I roll a 1, I should say, and I'll be able to re-roll it. I'm gonna put that there. And I don't need to replace the prompt, so we'll go ahead and roll for book number 2. 17, okay, 20, 19, 18, 17. This is a 5-star prediction. That's pretty good. I will happily put a 5-star prediction on my TBR. And I'm going to be good this year. And remember to actually replace the prompts, which I usually forget to do. So, success. Rolling for book number 3. So anyway, let me double check the rules for the reroll. But we are going to reroll that one. Let's see, do I have to do the punishment? That's the thing I need to remember. Okay, so looking at the spreadsheet, it looks like I do have to take the punishment for rolling a 1, but I can re-roll to get a different prompt rather than doing the out of your comfort zone prompt. So that's what we're gonna do. So let's see what our punishment is first. 2 books for the next prompt. You know what? That's fine. Not as bad as it could have been. So we'll put that there, and I will set aside my re-roll 1. So we got our kind of thing going on down here. And I'm gonna re-roll to get prompt for this. 9. So it's gonna be this one. Set somewhere you have been. So I need 2 books, set somewhere I have been. I'll have to think about that because I haven't been a whole lot of places actually. And we'll replace that prompt. So we have a mood read, 5-star prediction, and that. Okay. Rolling for our last book here. 11. It's gonna be this one. Set somewhere you've never been. I'm gonna go ahead and say I don't think I shuffled that very well. So anyway, that's it. That's our prompt. So I have a mood read, a 5-star prediction, 2 books set somewhere you have been, and 1 book you've set somewhere you've never been. So I need to go take a look at my shelves and see what I can put together. Okay, well, right off the bat, I did really well on that first roll, and I honestly wish I could roll that well when I'm actually playing 13th Age with my friends. Like, getting a 20 right off the bat is insane for me because I chronically roll really low. So I was really excited about that. But the prompt for 20 is always to do a mood read. And so for mine, I've chosen Tomb of Dragons by Catherine Addison, assuming that it arrives okay. This was a book I pre-ordered before moving, and I've set up my mail forwarding and everything, but I wasn't able to actually change the delivery address for the order because part of it has already shipped. So fingers crossed it arrives okay. This is one of my most anticipated releases of the year. It's the 3rd book in the Cemeteries of Amalo series from this author, which is a spin-off of one of my all-time favorite books, The Goblin Emperor. And I'm just really excited to read this. I love the main character of this series. It's Thara Kalahar. He is a detective who shows up briefly in The Goblin Emperor, and this series really focuses on him and his relationships, and he's like solving mysteries and meeting people, and just a lot of fun. Also like very emotionally intense. And I'm ready to be devastated by this 3rd book because the end of the 2nd book leaves us in a really interesting place where we have this kind of change, major change for Kalahar in his personal life. And I'm curious to see how it's all going to play out in this 3rd book. And I'm also a little bit sad it's going to be the last Kalahar book, but at the same time, like, I need it. Like, I need to read it immediately, so that's why it's going to be my mood read so that I can fit it in absolutely in March because I need to pick it up as soon as it is in my hands. So after that, we got a 17, which was to read a 5-star prediction, and I've picked one off of the list I made earlier this year, which is Before They Are Hanged by Jera Abercrombie. I kind of debated between this and The Fractured Dark because they're both on my kind of series progress goals for the year, but I decided to go with this one because it's been a little bit longer since I finished The Blade itself, and I don't want it to go too long until I start forgetting some of the details of that, especially because this series doesn't really have like a strong plot in it. It's much more character focused. It's much more about like the journeys that the different characters are going on, and it feels like you're watching a chess game where you can see all the players, or all the, not the players, but all the pieces moving across the board, but you don't know who the players are. And I really am enjoying that vibe of this series. It's working really well for me as a reader, but I feel like I need to dive back in before I wait too long and then forget a bunch of details. So I'm really excited to pick this one up. I really do think it's going to be a 5-star. I think I gave the first book 4.5 stars, and I've heard basically everywhere that he just gets better. Joe Abercrombie just gets better throughout the later books. So I'm really, really excited to pick this one up, and I'm thinking it is finally time for me to do so because I've been really in the mood to pick this one up lately as well. So after rolling super well for that first roll, we then got a 1, which I got the punishment, pick 2 books for the next prompt. That's fine because my reward was a reroll of 1, so it's fine. I didn't actually have to do the out of your comfort zone, but I did have to pick 2 books for the rerolled prompt, which was set in a place you've been or set somewhere you've been. And I've decided to go with Legend Born by Tracy Dion, which is set at UNC Chapel Hill. I've been on their campus a couple of times. I had a friend who attended UNC, so I've been there a few times. I'm very familiar with the school. And then I also chosen I'm a Fan by Sheena Patel, which is set in London, which I visited for a few days when I was studying abroad back in like 2018. So I thought this would be a fun selection. It was very different. I've been meaning to get to Legend Born for a really long time, but it sounds like a super fun fantasy series. And then I'm a Fan is a sort of literary exploration of this woman's experience with a man that she wants to sleep with, but like nobody in the book is given names, or at least none of the kind of major players. We have an unnamed narrator, we have the man that she wants to sleep with, who is referred to as the man I want to sleep with, and then there's also, or maybe it's be with, I can't remember exactly, it's one of the two. And then there's also the woman who is with the man I want to be with, and it's all about her obsession with this other woman and with this man and the increasingly unhinged things that she does in pursuit of that relationship. So I'm really excited for both of these. I think they're going to be a very different vibe, and I was kind of looking for that. I've been reading a lot of horror throughout 2024 and into the beginning of this year, and I'm feeling like with the everything going on in the world, I just need something that's a little bit different from that. So I'm hopeful that this will help me break out of my kind of horror rut that I'm in. And finally, we rolled I think it was the previous one a 9 and this was an 11. I think that was correct. But this one was set somewhere you've never been, and I decided to go with something a little bit different for it. So I've got with A Restless Truth by Freya Marsk, because this one's set on an ocean liner and I've never been on an ocean liner, and I think that'll be really fun to read about. I love a closed circle mystery, and this is kind of the ultimate closed circle mystery because you're like on a ship in the middle of the ocean, and I'm really interested to see where this is gonna go. I have previously started this one, but I'm gonna restart it because it's been a long time since I read those first 50 pages. But this one is the sequel to the I almost call it The Last Binding, that's the series name. It's the sequel to A Marvelous Light, and this is a sapphic romance set on a ship where these two women are working together to solve a murder mystery, along with their kind of disgruntled magician friend who does not want to be here, but oops, he accidentally adopted some lesbians, and now he has to deal with all of their problems. I'm really excited to read this. My best friend has been raving about this since she read it, and I'm delighted because I love Maud, who's one of our two main characters. She's present in the first book. She's not like a major character, but she shows up a few times in the first book, and I loved her there. So I'm really excited that she gets to be one of the major characters in this one. So that's everything I'm planning to read in March of this year. I would love to know down in the comments below what you're planning to read, and if there's any like specific genres you're feeling drawn to at the moment. Like I said, I've been reading a lot of horror, and that's something I'm trying to kind of break out of because I've been reading so much of it, and I think it is not helping me with coping with the everything that's going on right now. So that's why I'm trying to lean more towards like some romance, some mystery, some literary stuff, things that maybe will be a little bit different emotional tone. So I'd be really interested to see how other people are feeling in terms of like the genres they're reading. Is there anything you're gravitating towards? Is there something you feel like you need to kind of move away from? I'm curious to see how other people are feeling about that right now. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have for you today. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, I hope you consider giving it a like, maybe even subscribing to see what comes next. I'm currently posting on Tuesdays and Saturdays, and hope to see you in the next video. Real quick before I forget, because I almost walked away, I wanted to mention that I am doing reading and productivity sprints on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. EST over on Twitch. I'll have it linked in the description down below, but it's the same username as Jackalope Hope over there, and we've been having a good time doing that. My partner's been joining me for those some of the time. I've done it once so far. I say it as though I've been doing it for a while. I have not. I've done it once, but we had a great time. It was really fun. I managed to get quite a bit of reading done, and I'm hoping that this will continue to be like a useful thing for myself and for others so that we can work together to reach those goals that we set for ourselves. So yeah, definitely come hang out on Twitch if you want to. We are going to be doing some reading sprints with ducks. I have a Placid Plastic Duck Simulator, so between sprints we chat and we name ducks. It's a lot of fun. You should come hang out. That's it. That's my pitch. See you there, maybe. Bye.